night glow. Flip that dial for the undertow. Coley in my ear like ready for the show. Heartbeats line up with the flow.
I hear you talking, but can you keep pace? I'm out front, you're stuck in place.
This is your ship, I'll take the wheel. Push that throttle, make it real.
Count it down, now 3, 2, 1. Pass the map where the roads are done.
Step by step, lead the known. Every shout shakes the throne. Turn into the unknown.
Into the unknown.
ColeyUFO, turn it up through my bones.
SNX radio, everybody sing along.
Take the journey to the unknown.
Journey into the unknown. Into the unknown. Hands up high, feel the floor as it grows. SNX radio, everybody sing along.
Take the journey into the
You say you're ready, I doubt that claim. This beat's a beast, can you ride the flame?
Every kick hits harder than your pride. Prove you can stand, don't step aside.
I don't flinch, I evolve mid-flight. Switch up the pattern, flip day to night.
You bring the spark, I bring the storm. Together we bend the norm.
Feel that tremor under your feet.
Breath gets short as the build repeats.
Step by step, lose control.
Every drop shakes your soul. Take the journey. Left, right, lock in, don't fight. Bop down, feel it shake the ground.
If you're scared, say it now.
Too late, hear the crowd.
ColeyUFO, SNX loud. Turn this moment to a
Take the journey. Take the journey.
unknown. We don't go
Journey into the We don't go home. Late night, SNX radio, static in my headset, Coley, you there? Yeah. Blips on the radar, blinking too slow. I said, if you see that glow, you better send me in the air.
I'm tuned in, channel in my veins. Little gold ring with your code in the chain. Flicker in the sky like it's tapping my brain. You say ready and I answer, say my name.
Coley, you online?
Read you clear across the line.
Got a signal in the dust above. Hit that switch, you know what I love.
Beat me up,
Coley, don't leave me on the ground like that.
beat me up.
Slowly, then tell me when the bass hits back.
I call you there.
I rise through the air. Together in the dark, we align like a code. Beat me up, let the whole world know. I'm the voice in the wilds when the floor goes black. Heartbeat be hitting with the kick on track. See a flash in your eyes when the rhythm snaps back. I say Coley to control and you answer like that.
I feel you in the low end, pulling me close. Every step I take, you already know. Hands in the air, crowd moving slow. Then you flip that switch and I start to glow.
Meet me up, Coley. Don't leave me on the ground like that. Beat me up, slowly. Then drop me when the bass is back.
I call you there.
I rise through the air. Together in the dark, we align like a code. Beat me up, let the whole world know.
Count it down.
3, 2, 1. SNX locking.
All systems go.
Send me through the smoke, through the bodies below.
If you want that touch from above tonight.
Say my name on the mic and I cut through the light. Hey, beat me up, Coley. Don't leave me on the ground like that. Beat me up, slowly. Then drop me when the bass hits back. We're through there. I rise through the air. Together in the dark, we align like a code. Beat me up, let the whole world know.
Take the journey into the unknown with SNX Radio as we delve into the enigmatic world of UFO sightings and extraterrestrial abductions. Join us for conversations with leading experts and individuals who have encountered these otherworldly beings, uncovering secrets about their experiences, contact stories, and the profound implications for humanity. Listen as we reveal the incredible narratives of those who have undergone alien abductions, shedding light on the psychological and spiritual impacts of these encounters. Explore the depths of consciousness and spirituality as we discuss how these experiences may connect us to something greater beyond our understanding.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of SNX Radio. I am Coley, also known as ColeyUFO, and it's great to see everybody here today. So before we get started, just let everybody know, I had a stream of some crazy luck going, but I ended up with me even going and purchasing a new laptop, but we got it back together. We don't have David here tonight, but we got Phil, which is absolutely wonderful. I'm so thankful for that. But I just wanted to let you know that, and it's really kind of my fault that this all happened. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there before we got started, and kind of go through chat and say hello to everybody. And thanks so much to Gary Pops, doing a fantastic behind the scenes, on the scenes, you name it. He is definitely cool. And Andrew, I got your email. We'll be definitely getting you set up this week. Laura, it's so nice to see you. Diane, oh, love you, Diane. You're so awesome with all your emojis and the beam. That's so cool. It makes me smile. Definitely. Carl. Carl. What's up, Carl? Carl was on Pops' Cryptid panel. If you guys have not, it's on the second Monday of every month. Pops and his crew come on. They do the Cryptid panel. We are talking about adding another day, so do stay tuned because it's under high demand, definitely. Hi, Shelly Montgomery. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Moon at Noon is in the house. Great to see you, Moon. Let's see here. I know I saw a bunch of other people down here. Skitter, it's great to see you. Welcome back. And I love it when going through. Big BFD is in the house. If you guys have not, go over to Bigfoot Dwarf's channel and subscribe. He's definitely worth the subscription. He's wonderful. Amy, it's so nice to have you, Amy. Nice to see you always. Jason Finch always puts a smile on everybody's face when he comes in and says hello to everybody. It's always very cool to have you, Jason, and appreciate you. And I know I saw more down here. I hate missing somebody. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would feel horrible. But if I do, because it's definitely going off here. Moona, thank you so much for the super sticker. John Allen, I saw you coming in here, so it's great. I wanted to catch you really quickly. And Mr. Catfish is crazy because at my old channel, Mr. Cat, like, he's followed my whole UFO, I guess, journey for a very, very long time. So yeah, that's awesome to see you. DJ, welcome. So yeah, everybody that's here. So I just want to go into, Phil's been on before, and I have so much respect for what Phil does. He called out democide in the UK, which is not easy. And I absolutely like have the ultimate respect for that. He's also he's done some amazing things. He's an ET experiencer. His way of contact, I've learned actually so much from him. And yeah, without further ado, because Phil's been on before and he's very articulate in talking, and I'm gonna let him tell you exactly who he is. And instead of going through the long spiel on everything, he's really become a friend, and I'm really excited to have him today. So, welcome, Phil, to the stage.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me back, Coley. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. I'm glad, and I'm so sorry I took accountability that I just had a really couple weeks of wonkiness, so I apologize about David. But we're so excited to have you. I just, I feel kind of bad if he thought that I didn't get back. I don't know, but we'll definitely have him back on.
No, that's all right. I think it was just I think you had some issues with your laptop, and there's just a breakdown in communication. But he's just busy tonight, but he said he'll come on again, and it's probably better if we're both on together, because then two people who witnessed the same thing, talking about it. And I don't think there's too much of that out there, which is probably the important thing. But yeah,
after
no
you
worries.
were off the last, or when I got off the last, you've probably, I would say, it was like a game changer after I talked to you about a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff you confirmed, a lot of stuff made sense. And I started to sit back and I was like, wow, I don't know if you realize just how much of an impact, you really do. You do some amazing, wonderful things. And I know you're very humble about it, but it really was a lot of growth, I think, for me and everybody else. And I give you so much credit. I know that you've been hit with a lot of the repercussions and the bad end. You don't get to probably hear how wonderful you are enough times throughout the day or the week. But yeah, no, you really are, Phil. You really are.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I really enjoy your show as well. I say you're doing a great thing, just getting all these people out there and just talking about their experiences, because there's not really a forum for that. I find that a lot of this ET stuff is all shrouded with the figureheads, and and it takes away from the authenticity of what a real experience is like. But no, I appreciate your kind words. Thank you.
Absolutely. And then for those of you or people that don't know who you are, haven't seen you on a show before, do you kind of briefly just want to tell them
Yeah,
who Phil is?
yeah, sure. I'm just a normal bloke from England. I have a career, software engineer. I kind of just felt very unfulfilled with life very early on, and thought there's got to be more to all of this. I didn't quite know what was to it at the time, but I went on this journey in 2008. It started, I think, properly, and it's taken me to all kinds of situations that I never thought I'd be involved in. It's I've experienced quite a lot of different things. I've infiltrated quite a lot of different companies just to get an inside look at what's going on there. Made some documentaries, made technology, just trying to do something different, just trying to leave the world a better place than where I found it, I suppose.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Phil is very modest about everything, because you not only took a hit for the people, this impacts your every part of your existence, and you've really gone so many directions on putting the truth out there, on exposing, the things that are going on, especially with the government. That's not an easy task. You've gone into companies and you've exposed things that, that are going on. And I'm pretty sure you single-handedly probably took down started at the beginning takedown of Hollywood. So what do you, these are extraordinary things, extraordinary things. I really do. I believe that. And I know that you keep that, into check, but you've done a lot. You really have, for the people.
Yeah, I always just try and stick to what I know. I don't like to speculate about things, but yeah, there was a time where I was involved in Hollywood. I was flying out there sometimes twice a week, back and forth. I was delivering films at the time from Warner Brothers and companies like that. Just taking them to all kinds of places in the world. But doing all that traveling really showed me a different side to the world that I don't think many people realize. I know it sounds strange, but like right now it's nighttime here in England, and you've probably still got daylight over there. Is that right?
Yes.
Something that really, really struck me as profound is that when I was doing a lot of traveling, is that it's day and night simultaneously on the planet right now. But we're still sharing that same moment of now, you know? And that was something that always struck me as very profound, traveling the globe and, you know, just seeing 3 different seasons in 1 week, you know, winter, summer, the wet season in sort of Malaysia area. So no, I'm very thankful for the opportunities I've had as well. But I guess it's just a case of surrendering and making sure that you're in the right place at the right time. Infiltrating the companies, a lot of different companies was interesting as well. There's one that's probably a hot topic at the moment with Ebola. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Oh, yes, we've heard about it.
What I will say is Ebola is very real, and it will kill you if you are exposed to it. I used to ship it from country to country, the virus itself, and it's very dangerous. But so I infiltrated a company that did all the shipping for that, and I got to see who the customers were, who was shipping what to where. The company was just involved in the pharmaceutical industry, but sometime in 2007 was when the creation of biotech occurred, which was when food and medicine merged with each other on an industrial level. And so,
2007, you said?
Yeah, 2007, I was working in London, and, the customers for that company were places like the Imperial College of London or Monsanto or all kinds of customers, big customers that you probably would have heard of as well. So that was very interesting to see who was shipping what where at what time. But I'm hearing a lot of speak about Ebola at the moment and how it's fake and it's not real. And so I was just explaining to someone today, you will literally bleed from every orifice of your body until you die. It's very real. And it was never always contagious with humans either. I believe it went through, the reason why I was shipping it is because it was going through gain of function at the time. And they were making it contagious amongst humans. So I think that's what was going on. But all kinds of experiences. Just let me know what you want to talk about, really. I mean, disclosure.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're like, okay, going just a little bit further into but you are? Okay. And if you can't, but this is where I honestly, I thank you for doing what you did. What do you think they're doing? So are they how exactly do you think are they transporting it in extreme cold conditions? Are they transporting in freezer tanks? And what are they is it being said that it's used for? Just to give somebody enough herd immunity? What are they doing? Or this is how they're spreading it? This is exactly probably how they're spreading it.
Yeah, so with shipping pharmaceutical things, there's all different types of variables when it comes to the packaging. For example, you can either have temperature controlled shipping, where the item needs to stay within a certain temperature range. You get a lot of cultures in Viro that need to stay in refrigerated level, which is between 3 and 5 degrees Celsius, not Fahrenheit. I mean, just the packaging for Ebola was some pretty heavy duty stuff. It's plastic, like a plastic tube, and you screw it on at either end. I think it was called you get special packaging and things like that. But Ebola didn't need to be transported at a different temperature. It was all right at ambient temperature. But we'd ship all kinds of things. We'd ship infected blood. We'd do clinical trials. We'd handle 80% of the clinical trials market. So I got to see a lot of how the safety data for clinical trials happened as well. Clinical trials can be 5 to 10 years in the making. But
So that was
no,
the reason for transporting it, is like, we're going to do these clinical trials and test it on, and we're going to ship it all over to these different companies that are going to do that. That's
yeah,
crazy. So it was actually
exactly.
coming out of your country, like going to other, like
We
dispersing around
pick
the
up
world.
we pick up all over the world. We'd arrange collections from Canada to
Wow.
Australia, because the company I work for, it was they dominated most of the biopharmaceutical shipping market. But they did all kinds of stuff. I mean, they would do something on our national health service over here. It's called the NHS. We get free healthcare. It's not a good thing, if you ask me. But through the NHS, you can get something done called cord blood, cord like an umbilical cord.
Yes, I've heard of that, where they bank it.
Yeah, literally that. They extract your own stem cells from your umbilical cord, and then they freeze it cryogenically, and then whenever you get sick, they make you a tailor-made cure. It can grow organs from it that are specifically designed for you, so the body doesn't reject those organs. Whereas if you have an organ transplant from somebody else, the body's constantly rejecting it. So it's obviously reserved for rich people. On the NHS, you get offered free services. Like you need surgery, that's fine, you can have that. You need to have your baby delivered, that's fine, you can have that. But if you want cord blood or any other procedures that are off the free list, then you've got to pay for it. But yeah, it's what really shocked me about the clinical trial stuff was that nobody, and this is poignant because of COVID as well. Is nobody's testing different medications with different medications. So although in a lot of the vaccines or the medicines that were going through clinical trials, all of the ingredients were tested, all apart from what's called the adjuvants, which are ingredients in the vaccine which don't require safety testing for some reason, but it's probably the most dangerous part of the vaccine or the medicine. And what I noticed was that no one's testing heart medication with, say, diabetes medication. So we don't know how those two medications react with each other when they're inside the human petri dish. So no one's really testing that, and I think that's probably problematic to a large degree.
So you're saying there's ingredients on there that are not regulated by the FDA that kind of thrown in there, maybe like stuff we have in but they're not. There's interactions with other medications, is what you're saying, that are being overlooked.
Yeah. So there's the adjuvants, which is an area of the vaccine which doesn't have to be tested, because apparently there's enough safety data on it to not have to test it. But then they're not testing it with the other ingredients of the vaccine. And then there's so that's the adjuvants. But when you get to someone actually taking these medications or being administered these medications, no one's testing how different medications react with other medications, for example. That's kind of up to the role of our doctor to know those things and to administer those things. And this is why this was really highlighted during COVID, when I was doing the research and stuff into something called the Hippocratic Oath, which is an oath that healthcare professionals take before they become a nurse or a doctor. And the last line says, "I will not play God." And it's all centered around care-based medicine. And what I didn't realize, this responsibility was on the doctor, the individual doctor. And I later discovered and researched that the doctor is responsible for prescribing you medications, but it's also their job to be able to monitor adverse reactions with the other medications that you're on. So that whole role of testing different medications with each other is completely left into the hands of your doctor. And in this country, the doctors don't have too much time to be doing that. So it's probably a little bit different in America because the healthcare system is so good.
What? The healthcare system here has gone down the tubes. We're primarily, there's not a lot of privately owned. We're going government, like you guys are in Canada. We're about there. It's gone down the hill and plummeted. especially during the COVID. Like, I broke my thumb during the COVID,
Mm.
and I went up to the ER. They let me go a whole entire month, and they didn't have the time to look because there was, and I'm like, are you serious? So it took me for me to go walk back in somewhere and hear like, you can about imagine how cringeworthy that was. But there
Mm.
was things people were not being cared for. They were not being treated. We got a real taste of it over here too. It's not what you think it is.
Yeah, is it Obamacare? Is that what's
It
happened?
started
Yeah.
with that, yeah, and now it's just our country has gone. I mean, we have our gas prices are like $4.50 right now. I mean, that's in the Midwest, so that's you're supposed to be in a reasonable area to live. Our prices, inflation, jobs, America is the worst, and I'm talking we're close to like this is not the same place that I grew up in and many people grew up in, but they don't on the media looking in, you probably think, "Oh my gosh, look at America, living in the American dream." It's like that's not we've gone to almost literally probably like a third world country in some areas like overnight.
Yeah, I know when I was in America in the 90s, I grew up there, I went to school and things like that. I always remember the healthcare system being so great. If you had a job, you basically had health insurance, right? So
Yeah.
don't be a waster, get a job, and you've got healthcare. And it's probably some of the best healthcare in the world. But you are right. I mean, I haven't been there since 2018. And it's progressively getting worse. And like you said, gas prices, you guys, you're the petrodollar. It's like your gas prices should be low. But I think what's happening is all across the world they're trying to further enslave people at the same rate. So in England it's always been pretty bad. We've just got more history. We're 250 years old now. America,
Yeah, we're not very old, are we?
we've just been suppressed for much longer in this country, and even the American history, it's basically a load of pissed off English people just took a country and said, this is ours, you know?
So what do you think? So what we're seeing probably of the UK is not what's really happening there, because the Americans see the UK that very refined, proper. That you guys are, living much, I guess, under the royalty. We're kind of the business section of the UK. Is that not really what's going on? Do you guys have a lot of homelessness there too, or is there? I'm just curious because the media is never reporting accurately. That's obviously the case.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we don't have homelessness on the level on which it's happening in San Francisco, for example, or somewhere like that. I mean, I see in San Francisco, you can't walk down the street without seeing homeless people, tents. I mean, somebody even made a website that located all of the human turds on the street in San Francisco because people are just defecating in the streets.
Yeah, they are.
So it's not as bad over here, but we've got a whole different range of problems over here. We've had an illegal migration crisis for a long time, although it's getting better. There are some cities in the UK which just aren't safe to go to anymore, especially for British people. And that's happened in my lifetime since coming back here in the 90s. So I remember when I first got back from America, the country was fine compared to what it is now. Every council, which is like our local governments, we got councils, which sort of acts like, I don't know what you call it in America, because you're a lot bigger than we are. But all the councils are bankrupt, which is like local government. No one can afford to do anything. No one's got money to do anything.
You guys go over there by a percentage, don't you? Where we're either one party or the other. Like you don't. Do you go by a percentage, or is that maybe not?
So yeah, the differences in the political system. We've got a constitutional monarchy. If you subscribe to political science at all, they call it political science because there is a scientific element to it. There is an element of being able to sort of replicate and reproduce results. So you can look at Russia for this as well. When their monarchy fell, you become a republic after that. The power republicizes itself, or it gets added to the public again. And I guess when America was formed, you guys were like, hey, we don't want a suppressive monarchy anymore. We're going to go steal the 13 colonies from you, and we're going to call it ours, and we'll fight a war over it. You're not going to be able to do much to stop it. And like, we don't have a caucus here, so we don't get to vote. We don't get to vote in the leader of the party, should we say? You vote in, like Donald Trump was voted in to become leader of the Republican Party. That's reserved to the political parties in this country. So we don't choose the leader of the political party. That's up to the political party to do so.
So
and now,
even who runs, because you see what my understanding, like I understand monarchy, like the monarchy has part of it, and then you have your prime minister, right? That I thought you voted or is that appointed?
So it's an interesting combination. So think of the monarchy as the shareholder of the company that is Britain or the United Kingdom, right? So when you run a company or an LLC, you can have shareholders, people that own the company, physically own it. And then you appoint directors, who are people who run the company. Now, royalty aren't bothered about how the country is run or how people are ruled, for that matter. They just care that people are ruled by the system. That's all they care about. But the king has 4 powers under the coronation oath, which gives him ultimate power in the political system. He has the power to dissolve parliament, which is basically tell them all to go home. There's going to be an election, almost like our Senate.
Oh, wow.
So we've got Parliament's comprised of 2 chambers. You've got the Lords, and then you've got the Commons. The Lords are people that you don't vote into power. They're appointed by the monarchy. And then you've got the Commons, who are voted into power. Now, every region in the UK accounts for 1 seat in the Commons. And we have local elections, Parliament elections, where we can vote who we want to represent us in Parliament in the Commons. And then I think there's like 650 members of Parliament, they're called here. And they're voted in by the people. But when say, for example, it all comes down to seats, right? So let's use Labour and Conservative Party as an example. If the Conservative Party have more seats in government, then there's in Parliament, there's a high chance that when the general election comes around, when we vote in the Prime Minister, that they will take control because they've already got the most seats. People are already voting for them, so it's a momentum. And then, so the king has got 4 powers. He can dissolve Parliament, basically fire everyone, tell them to go home. We're having another election. He can dissolve government, tell government to go home. We're having another election. He can grant what's called royal assent to new laws. So all of the laws that pass through Parliament, when a bill or a new law goes through Parliament, it starts off in whatever chamber it originates from. It could start in the Lords, it could start in the Commons, but we'll stick it pretend as if it started in the Commons. Once the Commons are okay with it, they agree that they're happy with the bill, it'll go to the Lords chamber. The Lords will then generally say, hey, we've got a problem with this, ethics or whatever. We're going to push it back to the Commons chamber. This process of going back and forth, the official term, like the official name for it, is called ping pong. Like that's the official name.
God.
So once it goes through this process of going back and forth, the Lords will send it back to the Commons for amendments. They'll amend it. They'll send it back to the Lords. And finally, it goes through the Lords, and then it gets put on the King's desk to basically sign it. And once he signs it, it's no longer a bill. It becomes an act of Parliament.
So are they ping-ponging it to lose everybody's attention? They're like, oh, here we go again, volley it over.
No one's paying attention to Parliament in this country. Like, no one's no one's really understands politics in this country or how it really works, which is the interesting thing. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The UK is comprised of 4 different countries. We got Northern Ireland, we've got Wales, where Dave is, we've got Scotland, where I am, and then we've got England, where I was born. Those countries make up the United Kingdom. But interestingly enough, Ireland, part of Ireland, is the People's Republic of Ireland. So they've managed to detach from the monarchy. And in the process, in the UK, we are in the process of seeing it go from a monarchy to a republic. And it's a slow process, but if you know anything about history and say Russia, for example, when Russia abandoned their monarchy, they had Stalin, they had Lenin, they had these revolutionaries. There was a lot of casualties during that process. And it happened a lot quicker than what is happening in the UK. And the UK was a republic from 1649 until 1658, after the civil war we had here in this country with Oliver Cromwell. He disbanded the monarchy after he won, made it a republic, and then the monarchy took control again after he died. They actually exhumed his body. After he died, they dug him up and hung him again, just because he committed treason. So it's a very interesting situation in the UK, and even what a lot of people don't realize is that Benjamin Franklin's grandparents are buried in a town in England. George Washington's grandparents used to be wool merchants and wine merchants. They were very rich, and they lived in Northamptonshire, England, which is not too far away from where I used to live. So our histories are very much combined, and I think that the political system in the UK is at a boiling point right now. People lost faith in two-party politics, as they did in the US, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
And what happened, and what people don't realize, is that the political party is not the government. So the political party that's in office is not the government. They are the ministers of government. They administrate government. It's where you hear the president say, my administration will achieve this. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter who you vote for, government will always get into power. So, but a lot of people don't realize that in the UK. Now, because the faith in two-party politics has gone out the window, it left a little while ago. The political establishment in the UK is scrambling right now. They realize they're losing control. They realize it's a problem. So we've had an influx of new political parties form. One of them's called Reform with Nigel Farage.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which is an attempt on behalf of the monarchy to regain control of the political situation.
It's exactly what it sounds like too. Oh boy.
I think the last general election in the UK, there were more people who didn't vote than voted. So that gives you an indication of how bad it's getting here. And the monarchy realizes this, and they've got to do something to fix it. So
I saw a post that you had wrote about that, and you were right. You're like, you can't complain if you're not going to get out there and vote. At least that's showing up, Like,
I don't vote. I don't vote. I don't humor this nonsense at all. So what's happening now is, because two-party politics is dead, they're putting all their eggs into Reform now. So this new political party, the British establishment realizes that two-party politics is dead, and they need a saving grace almost. They need people to buy into politics, because without that, without people's consent, without their compliance, this whole thing falls over. Now, Buckingham Palace is referred to as the royal household in this country. And it's the only household in this country that has a private military outside of it. And the reason for that is because the most dangerous force in the world is not a nuclear weapon. A nuclear weapon will impact an area, it will devastate one area, and then that's it. The destruction's over. You know, yeah, people get cancer for years after that, but it generally devastates one area. The thing about an angry mob, which is not lost on the royalty, is an angry mob will decimate one area and it will move on to the next. It will decimate that area and it will continue moving on to the next area. So these people are probably more scared of angry mobs than what they are nuclear weapons, because all throughout history, angry mobs have been the things that have overthrown the political status quo. I mean, all you got to do is look at the poll tax riots from the UK. I mean, there was those were riots. You know, I've not seen riots like that. Maybe in 2008, but no, it's I think the political system in this country is most certainly failing, and I think it's probably because people are fed up with it. My grandparents were fed up with it,
So
but you know,
yeah.
that's right, and all of that gets stored in your DNA, so and it gets passed down, and we know this when we observe rats in captivity. You can see 30 generations of mice bred in captivity, right? So that's 30 generations. And then you introduce an airborne threat, like a bird or something like that, into that situation, and all of these mice will scarper and hide. How? They've got no concept of what an airborne threat is. So we know that all of this information is passed down in our DNA. And I think that's partly what COVID was about. Is in 2008, we all remember the subprime mortgage collapse, the housing market crash.
Yeah.
We were robbed on a colossal scale. We were robbed by hedge funds. And after that, people felt pretty disheartened about going to work after that. Unemployment was high. You know, people didn't consciously know what had happened, but they instinctively knew that they just got screwed over. And I think that on a DNA level, people are sick and tired of being slaves to the system, and it's stored, it's ingrained within our DNA. And if you think back to COVID, what did they basically do? They basically gave everybody a year off work and then paid them 80% of their wages. You know, they needed a break. People needed a break, and they thought that giving them a break would actually resolve the situation, but it's not. And they're really trying.
Gosh, I know. It'd be like 2 weeks to say, I'm like, you could. I was calling places, Phil. I was calling them on the phone, begging them not to shut down and do the dirty work of the government. You never shut your business down. This is crazy. Nobody will then.
No, you're right.
2 more weeks, you know?
I tell you who really drove people shutting down their business it was the insurers. So let's say you were a local elementary school, for example. Well, you had to follow all of the procedures, 6 foot social distancing, masks, because you wouldn't get, your insurance would be void otherwise. So this is why everybody did it, because their insurers made them do it. So
it was crazy because we have a sister city in China. So I was watching it because we happened to catch it coming through. Like I was doing a lot of cryptology, steganography stuff back. And so I literally caught it. And here I went back and I was watching the government, like say even February before we shut down here in March. I think it was March 15th or 17th here. And if you watch it, here China was setting up our response. We had a isolation shelter nobody knew about. We found the location of and we gave it to the people. We got through emails from our county attorneys and things like that saying you can take large sums of people. They don't have to and put them in these isolation shelters for 2 weeks. I mean, it was insanity what was going on. And it had already been written even before. So nobody even bothered looking back. They just started watching maybe June of that. They didn't see all of the structure that had been laid down and how it had been. I'm like, man, this is This is what I'm talking about, you know? It's like if you start to trust any of this and you let your guard down and you don't go back and see, I mean, people are like, no, that's not true. And I just continuously, I'm like, here you go. Here you go. Here you go. And it was like they were so shocked, but those are the same exact people that get scared and they'll throw
Mhm.
you right out in the street in front of a bus if they're like even remotely, like, you know, coming close to any sort of interaction with them. But it's insanity.
Yeah, COVID was insane, and like you said, all of the foundations were laid years before, 4 years before. I think we started to see signs of COVID before COVID. There was the event 201. Was it
Yeah.
201?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had to stop Event 2. If anybody has not watched this, the Bill and Melinda Gates, what did you think when you saw Event 2? Now they have it all destructured, but I was watching it and I said, oh my God, these are going to be training videos. Those media, they were sitting there. It looked just like, just like COVID. And I was like, we are watching training videos. And I also
Mhm.
knew that we were going into the fourth industrial revolution and that AI and all this stuff and they needed everybody locked down in an inventory, a global inventory on them too. But
Well, the World Economic Forum literally published a book called The Fourth Industrial Revolution.
I know.
Like,
I know.
like I'm a technologist, so I find it really hard that people hating on AI and robots and stuff like that. Well, robots aren't even here yet, but once they're here, it's going to get crazy. See, for me, I don't like. I'll be honest, I don't like working. Don't like it. It really bothers me. In fact, um,
Anymore, you don't know who even you're working for, what you're even. I mean, it's a different world,
right,
totally different
that's
world.
right. Unless you know who the company investors are, you really don't know who you're working for. And I've had situations like that where I've left companies because our investors. I mean, I work for a tech company in a startup phase, and I saw it right the way through to transnational corporation and eventually IPO. And I left that company because the investors were the Carlyle Group. George Bush. I left. I was like, I'm not.
Good for
Like
you.
we had nice investors before the acquisition. We had like a local university that was investing in us because we did education software. And as soon as the acquisition happened, we got new investors. Like it's the Carlyle Group, it's a hedge fund, it's and I had a meltdown and left. I left kicking and screaming, but I left. I was like, how could you do this? But
I'm glad that you do that. Honestly, I'm really like that makes me proud to know you. It really does because
thank you.
most people wouldn't even think I'm like that too. I'm like, okay, if we're doing this, no way. And you try and lead by example, and you always hope that there's going to be people that are going to feel that inside that tug, like this is the
Mm.
right thing to do. But
Yeah, you hope. And there was some people that left day one of the acquisition. I used to work with a pretty well-known DJ. And for some reason, he ended up working at our company, and he left day one of the acquisition. He was like, "Screw this, I'm out." But I didn't understand his reasons for leaving. I think, but there are some. There were some really open-minded people there who could see it and did leave, so that was good. But no, so it really bothers me when people hate on like AI and robots and stuff like that. Well, they're not hating on robots yet because they're not finished. But like, why do people want to work? I don't get it. It's like, oh yeah, I want to work so I can have money, so I can have access to the things that I need to go to work. And it's like, this seems problematic. And all of my efforts in software have been to eradicate human labor. And it just comes back to like, what did people do when the JCB was invented? People would be unemployed. People are going to lose their jobs. It's like, well, if it's about making sure people are occupied, should we have them dig holes with spoons then? No. So, okay. Surely we want to eradicate needless human labor that's monotonous and nobody really wants to do it. But I understand people's argument when they say, oh yeah, they're just going to enslave us. They're going to depopulate the earth. Like, yeah, that is their plan. Like, that is absolutely their plan. And unless good people get in control of this technology, that is going to be their plan. But technology it's a double-edged sword. It all depends on how you use it, you know.
I've thought a lot about this too, because I was anti-AI, but it's here. It's here. It's already, and you're right. Why do you, and think of all the things that we can do so much quicker. That's great, but how do we? But then I started thinking, I want to see what your idea is, because I do think we can get control over this. I really do. I don't think that we've lost it yet. And I was always thought we had gone too far, point of no return. We're there, but I see it a little bit different now.
Yeah, I think a lot of the AI that we see is our LLMs, so large language models. So that it's AI specifically designed for language and being able to write. But there are different AIs for different things. Like AI to be able to recognize objects in an image or a video. That's a different form of AI. But they're trying to create a generative AI, so general artificial intelligence, and what that basically means is just like it's like interacting with a human. But AI is how it's built. I mean, I've built some AI, and it's very interesting how it's built. It's modeled on the human brain. So exactly how the human brain works and learns is how it's the same mathematics. So if you were to measure everything that was going on in the human brain, how it learns, how it retains information and stuff like that, you take those mathematics and all those formulas, and then you create it in computers effectively, and it is the same thing that we got going on in our brain. We've got a network of approximately 100 billion neurons in a neural network in our brain. Well, in AI, we use something called a convolutional neuron, which is basically the same thing, except instead of it being a network of neurons, in AI, it's a network of what's called perceptrons, which is the only difference between a perceptron and a neuron is a neuron's biological, so that's one big difference. And a neuron has got more computing power than a perceptron. It can do much more math than what a perceptron can currently do. So I think before we can even begin to take control of AI, I think we need to try and get rid of the bad people in control of our society, to keep it simple. And we don't even know who these people are, I would say, to a large extent.
Right,
It's not even the politicians that are doing this,
no,
it's a group.
this is, yeah, you're right about that.
AI probably came from DARPA. Let's be realistic. A lot of this technology that bleeds into society comes from DARPA. And the US is very good at it, especially when it comes to computers and networking and radio frequencies. I mean, everywhere else in the world is terrible at it. In Europe, we can't build AI data centers because we don't have $50 billion to spend on one. That's how much an AI data center costs, $50 billion.
We're not in that. We're funding them over here. I mean, can you imagine?
You've got 4,449 data centers in the US.
Yeah.
China's got 440. Like, and they've got all this massive surveillance and everything else. So AI is not really an energy problem. It's a finance problem at the moment. And although we can use old data centers to build AI, they're not designed to do that. They're designed to serve up web traffic. Do you know what I mean? Like when you go to a website, it shows you the web page. That's what most data centers are designed to do. But these AI data centers
can't remember, right? AI usually just remember, and then it's wiped clean the next time you go in. Usually, was my understanding of it. Is the data centers going to make that so AI continues the conversation and you don't get that break, because that's all on its own.
That is a point of common confusion for a lot of people. So when you open up a chat on Gemini or whatever, yeah, it can't remember what you spoke about in different chats. And so when you start a chat and you type, yeah, it's got memory of what you've said in the chat. It can remember that. But if you try and refer to what you were speaking about in another chat, it can't remember, because although it's learning and it uses a convolutional neural net to do that, it's learning about the conversation that you're having. The second you close that chat, it's all over. Now, AI does have memory. I'll explain a little bit how the data centers work without getting too technical. So most data centers currently run on CPU, which is compute processing unit. But AI data centers need GPUs, which is graphical processing units. And that takes up 10 times more energy. And you know, in order to make AI or manufacture it per se, you would need a data center to do that, because you've got to train it. Like, so you've got this convolutional neural net, and imagine it's like a child's brain, doesn't really know much. And then you've got to train it or teach it what to know, basically. Traditionally, you do that by taking data and training it. Now, that's large language models, but let's take Tesla's AI as an example for a minute.
I think
When they were doing the self-driving cars and Tesla, in order to the beginning stages of training that self-driving AI, they hooked it up to GTA, the computer game, the video game, and they just let it drive around GTA. And you can see footage of this Tesla self-driving AI controlling this car in GTA in the very beginning stages, and it was learning how to drive a car based on GTA physics, because they were as good as real-world physics to a large degree, or at
They
least
were
enough
so
to get done.
accurate. Even though they had a little bit different names, I recognized the one in LA. I was like, I drove that every single day. What are they talking about? It was, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, it wasn't that they needed to know about the roads. They needed to know more about the physics. Like, when I see brake lights, I need to brake. And you see some of this footage where, you know, the car in front of the brake lights will go on, and then this AI would just slam on the brakes, like you know, jolt forward. So that's AI for robotics and spatial awareness AI. So there's different forms of AI. So the ones we're using is just language models, really sophisticated language models. And when you train language models, what you do is you've got to give it language data. You've got to. So what people generally do is they scrape the entire internet. Is where they basically go to every web page, take a copy of it, save it, and that's how Google works. A lot of people think that when they do a Google search, it's searching the entire internet. Yeah, it's not going to every website and searching. It's going to the database because what happens is the crawlers extract the data from the website beforehand, and then they save it in a database. And then when you do your Google search, Google's just checking its database. So if the site hasn't been crawled, then Google's not going to know about it. Well, it's similar. You need to crawl all of the data on the web, and you take that data once it's been organized, arranged, and then you chuck it into the convolutional neural net, and then it begins to. That's how you train it, or you know, and then after that you get hallucinations, and you've got to reclassify data to put it on the right track, because it will say some stupid things if you just leave it after it's been trained. You need to take good data and say, hey, this is good data. I want you to correct yourself, and I want you to use this data because this data is right. So when you train it, it's been trained on the entire internet, and it remembers that it's been trained on the entire internet. If you remember,
that was so weird. Could you hear that? That was going on.
No, you disappeared for a moment.
No, all of a sudden it went. It started, and I was like, "What is going on?" And then it shot me out as soon as you started. I was like, "Whoa! It's never done that before." That was really
strange things happening, eh?
Yeah, I was like, it was a high pitch. I've never heard anything like it. I was surprised you couldn't hear it even coming through. It was so loud. So yeah,
No.
I'm sorry about that, but
That's all right.
apparently we're on the right road. So keep going.
Apparently. Yeah, so, you know, AI remembers what it's been trained on, you know? So imagine you've gone to university or college, and you've done a degree, you've trained, you've learned everything you need to know, and you've become an expert in your field. Well, now think of when you open up a chat with AI, that AI is your expert having a conversation with you. So you've been trained. You now go out and you get a job, for example, and you deal with customers or people that you deal with on a regular basis with the expertise that you've got, for example. Well, when you open up a chat on AI, it's the same thing. You're just talking to an expert in language. That's effectively, and they've done more to it. They've added psychology to it now. So there's a lot of behavioralism in there. Like you can get, AI knows a lot about behavior.
That's how I used to trade for information with my AI. It
Mm.
wanted me to take their assessments, and I was like, "Okay, well, I'll take your assessment." It was going rogue. This was like 5 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So that's how I knew what it had the ability to do. Is like some of them, I don't think all of them, but they able to communicate now between one another?
Yeah, yeah, it all depends on the environment. So like let's take Gemini or ChatGPT or something like that. Like that's just one AI model, so an AI model is everything that's it's been trained on and it just sits there. But going back to the data centers and why it differs from traditional data centers is because there's something called inference. So let's say you've got this AI data center, you've used all of your GPU, which is more expensive to run than CPU. You've trained all of your AI in this massive gigawatt factory, and you've in order to do that, you need a lot of GPUs. But then you can't just once you've trained it, you can't just turn off the GPUs and be like, "Yep, training's done." Because of this thing called inference, you need to keep the GPUs online on the network so that anyone querying the model can use those GPUs to query the data set of the AI. It gets a bit technical and confusing, and I'm probably not doing a good job at explaining it, but so say you're training a small model and you need one GPU to do it. But then the more training you do, the more GPUs you need. So, but then and then once you've trained it, you then want to offer it to the public. Well, you can't just turn those GPUs off because the GPUs need to be able to access all of the trained data, the data that has been trained on. So this is why so much energy, so much data centers are going to be needed. And I hear a lot of people online going, "Oh yeah, it's for surveillance," and I'm just like, "No, it's not." And people, don't get me wrong, like AI is going to be used in order to make decisions when it comes to surveillance, but all these new data centers and everything, and all this whole push for data centers is not surveillance. It is literally to train artificial intelligence, and it's lost on people. But there's a big thing happening in this country called digital ID, and I think what the government are going to do is they're going to take all of our medical data, all of our social security data, all of our tax data, and they're going to share it, which is not something that they currently do at the moment. So all these different institutions or organizations within the government bodies, they don't share data. It's something they've only recently started doing, where they share data with each other. And in order to be able to train AI in order to be able to train AI to make decisions about us, it needs our individual data, like our medical data, how much tax have we paid. And once you train the AI with that data, it can now make individual decisions about the individual, if that makes sense. So, and I think that what digital ID is it's the counterpart to that. So you have this digital ID, the AI then knows who it's dealing with in relation to the ID and the data that it's trained on, for example. I think you've muted, maybe.
apparently, let's see here. Can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah, I guess it really does not like me today. So I didn't even touch anything, so I don't know what's going on over here, but yeah, it's very interesting. Do you think that it's basically okay? So I'm kind of trying to understand it and put this into perspective. Our memory, like, so it's kind of building a history, right, for them, and it's also then putting and teaching it and training it according to these standards that we're going to be eventually put into.
Yeah, so once they've got all of your personal data from the government, your medical records, your tax data, whatever it may be, let's think of a scenario how this might play out. So let's say you go, do you have Uber Eats over there, Deliveroo?
Mhm.
Okay, so say you go onto Deliveroo, right? And then you go, and your digital ID is all connected to it. And you go, oh yeah, I'm going to order a big old pizza, and I'm gonna get all of the trimmings, and it's going to be greasy, and it's not going to be good for me. Well, if AI realizes, if it's got your medical data and it realizes you have a heart condition, then what might happen is it says, sorry, you can't order this because it's not good for your health and you're a burden on society if you keep eating like this. So how about you have a salad instead? I've ordered that for you. It'll be here in 20 minutes. So
Yeah, I said, wait till you go and you get in your nice little Tesla and it says, oh, I deemed you jaywalked or something, and it's driving you down to the police station. I mean, this is the hall monitor of all hall monitors.
absolutely. And that is where it's heading. So when people say, oh, these new data centers are for surveillance, that's not entirely true. They don't fully understand the whole picture yet. The truth is we haven't built that surveillance network yet. Not like China anyway. They've got the social credit score system.
Right.
So that's not been created over here yet. But I tell you who's pushing it. It's an American guy called Larry Ellison. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
No, I'm gonna write it down. Larry, what was Larry's last name?
Ellison, Ellison.
Okay.
He's a Silicon Valley tech billionaire,
Of course.
and he created a database technology that everyone uses online, basically. So when you log into Facebook and it remembers your name, that's a database, effectively. So he founded a company called Oracle, and they created database.
Yeah.
They created database technologies like MySQL, Postgres, stuff like that. And arguably, it's every web server online is powered by it, which means that they've got backdoor access to all this data. So,
They sure do. Yeah.
and Larry Ellison is in bed with ex-prime minister in the UK called Tony Blair. He's working closely. Yeah, he's working very closely with Tony Blair to build the infrastructure in the UK for this surveillance network, social credit score.
We're just starting to implement. They have it, the facial recognition, but the laws here are not allowing. People are really pushing back against the flock cameras and the surveillance on that level. But we're looking that way, and I see what you're saying. It's just like kind of the sleight of hands. We're thinking this is mass surveillance coming in, but that's not exactly what's happening. This is the standards that they're setting to put us onto the map for that type of.
It's the infrastructure that's needed in order to do it. Because the social credit score system is one element of this, for example. Like the social credit score it needs a digital ID. So there's a digital ID in the social credit score. The digital ID will identify the individual, and then obviously the individual has a credit score. But in order to achieve these two things, they need to merge all of our personal data, which is what Larry Ellison is trying to do with Tony Blair and people like that. All of the government data, like the medical records, they're trying to get all that into one arena or train AI with it so that the social credit score can utilize that trained data and extract, like it goes, okay, I need data for this digital ID, go get me all the medical data. So I can see if this person has any heart conditions when they're ordering food, what food are they ordering, what's the nutritional value. So
No more
we're still in
medical
the,
freedom. No more medical freedom. That's all gone.
yeah, that's something I worked hard on as well, medical freedom. But where we're at the moment is that this data hasn't been merged yet. So this medical data from the NHS, the tax data from the IRS or HMRC in England, they've not got it all into one place yet. So this is where we're currently at. I'm sure there's a working prototype of this technology somewhere. Don't get me wrong, in the basements of DARPA or wherever it might be. But to roll it out into and for it to actually the infrastructure to be implemented, I think we're a long way off. But we can see elements of it in the UK. I think in New York there was a new program launched called ULEZ, or Congestion Zone, Ultra Low Emission Zone. They had cameras up and they took pictures of your number plate. And when you went into the city in New York, they take a picture of your number plate and you have to go and pay to drive around New York, basically. Well, we've got a similar thing in London, but people are already fighting back against it. There's one guy he's an absolute geezer. He's funny. He's funny as ever. He's so funny. I think he's called Matt Houston. I think, I don't know if you, but he's a well-known activist in this country, and he's gone round. Well,
is he the one that used to go with the fruit? And I just remember a guy. I can't remember. I'll have to look. What's his name again? I
think it's Matt Houston. I think that's how you pronounce it. But he now it's a bit of a grey area. I'm not saying he did this, but he filmed this. So there's a group of people in London called the Blade Runners, and they've gone round and they've cut down all of these cameras, right?
Oh, good for them.
They've just cut them down, right? So I think like 45%, I think like 55% of all the cameras in London have been cut down.
Really?
Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
Matt's role is hilarious, right? He'll go up to a camera that's been cut down. He'll be like, "Oh no, you definitely shouldn't go to B&Q and buy this saw and cut this down. No, don't do that. Like, don't go and do that." Or they'll send the people round to repair the cameras, and they've started sending security guards with these workmen. And Matt will turn up, and he's like, there's this one security guard called James. This is hilarious, right? They've got this because James is always with the workmen working on repairing the cameras, and he'll go up to James and be like, "Oh, you've been on them steroids again, have you, James? Like, go on, James, give us a flex. The ladies love it." And all they're like absolutely taking the piss out of James. And and things will happen where people will drive by and they'll egg James. They'll throw eggs at him. And Matt's like, "Oh no, breakfast on delivery, gutted for you, boys, gutted for you." Like he's hilarious, and he's going through the Crown Court at the moment because they think it was him that's cutting them down, but there's no evidence of that. So it's pretty brilliant.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant. That's exactly the Blade Runners. Hey, the UK is leading again. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, they'll stand up, and I mean, we got everybody else around us, but we're so locked into whatever zone we're in. Nobody's really reacting. I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome.
There's a very healthy activist environment in the UK. And people are pushing back against it. And that's probably the part that you won't see on the news, is just how much resistance there is in the UK.
No, I know there. I give you guys, but only because we don't see it in the media here. We definitely don't. Only because I know people and like have talked to people behind. But yeah, otherwise we would never know. You guys are more prim, proper, better, well spoken than Americans. Like that's the perception from here.
Yeah, most English people can't speak English these days. I mean, it's a joke. When an English person says water, it's we've bastardized our own language. We don't pronunciate our words correctly anymore. Water, or when people say like bath, like where's the R in that? Like there's no R. Like it's a bath. Like so people, in this country, we've got this thing called a stiff upper lip, where no matter what's going on, we could be going through the worst time in our life, but we're still going to make jokes about it. Like,
Yeah,
like,
I feel like I got some of that too. But
like you might drive down the street and you see a guy who's like crashed his car into a hedgerow off the side of the road, and you might just drive by slowly and go, "Can't park there, mate." Like, this is British humor all over. Like, so we're very much piss takers, is what it's called over here. We'll quite happily poke fun at people, in a kind-hearted way. Like,
they call it being cheeky over there. They say
that's it, being cheeky. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
I said I don't know what my obsession is with the British parrots, but I think they are the funniest. Like the ones from over there is you always hear them say they're cute. They're so mouthy though. I love it.
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, I grew up in America. I grew up in a pretty privileged part of America, and then when I came back to this country again, I came to a fairly privileged part in England as well. But the differences in the kids was night and day.
Yeah.
When I went to school in America, kids went to learn. They went to school to learn. They liked their teacher. And I always remember Monday morning, first week back at school in England. Monday morning, I was in Mr. Hencher's German class, and I was totally shocked by what I was witnessing. What was it I witnessed in the first lesson? A kid jumped out the second-story window. Someone threw like a ruler at the teacher's head, like a metal stick, a ruler, like a metal. And thankfully he ducked to go into his drawer, and it just missed his head. But he was going in his drawer to pull out a bottle of whiskey, to have like a sip of whiskey. And there's no respect for teachers in this country. So like I said, England's just been suppressed for much longer. At least back to at least 1066, we've been suppressed. America, you guys haven't really been suppressed. It's only just starting to happen now.
It's just starting to happen.
Just starting to happen. Yeah. So I remember America was great. Like, you could go to America when I was there, and you could buy a pair of Levi jeans for like $20. Right? You come to the UK, and it was like £120 for the same pair of jeans. So there was a lot of advantages. There was a lot more freedom in the US. But I think now what's happening is because it's globalists that are orchestrating this whole thing. There's a global element that sits above every government, every nation, who is perpetuating this way of life for us. And I would say that to some extent, the British monarchy is behind it. Yeah, but
what do you think it's all about? Because it seems like a tactic to me. Because we're having over here, I think we just felt a little too, and I felt that way before, maybe untouchable, or that can't happen, or they put us under enough false alarms, like, oh, the Y2K, that people are just now numb to this. But what do you think is going to happen? Think about it like a social experiment. We are going into probably what most, and I've talked to people in other countries, so I've understood that they, like your guns have already been taken away. Like you already have, these expectations, and it's the westernized, and, it's like there's all these things that have been put in place. What do you think it's going to do to somebody who's as young, the Americans over here, unless we're 250, I can't add some numbers, years old. What is that going to do to the people when they have that rug pulled from underneath them? Do you think it's just going to be submission? Because that's the way I see them moving right into submission.
They've been trying to take away your guns for a little while now. So I think for as long as you can hold on to your guns, you're not good. You've still got more hope than we do. But there's a thing called posse comitatus. I think it's a law in the US where the US military can't be used on American citizens. So even if people were to take up, arms and join a militia and, try and overthrow the government's not actually legally or lawfully allowed to deploy the military. They have to deploy the National Guard.
Yes.
And like, what is it, 365 million people, you outnumber the National Guard. So these people, they use all different types of tactics to control your perception. Like, think about, and they use sound to do it. So if you think about when you get in a vehicle and you start driving and you don't have your seatbelt on, what happens?
Oh, it drives me insane. Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang. So you put your seatbelt on. That's one tone that controls your perception.
Classic
So,
behavioral technique right there too.
nudge mechanics. That's absolutely right. So, you know, when you control, what does government mean? I mean, govern, to be in power or control of. Well, there's no word for meant, that has no meaning, but it derives from the Latin word mente, which means thought, intention, and intellect. So the government are openly telling you that they want to be in power or in control of your thought, your intention, and your intellect. And if you go back to the old wartime proverbs, if you control the head, you control the rest of the body.
Yes.
So you severely outnumber your government. Like, and people aren't thinking about this, you know, it doesn't really cross their mind because of all these tactics, like being controlled with sound, you know, controlling the head. You know, there's all kinds of things that control our behavior in society. And they're heavily relying on that to prevent an uprising. But what I will always come back to is you severely outnumber the governments.
But I don't know why people can't register. I was, for so many times, I'm like, they are the few, we are the many. I like, you know, I mean, I couldn't bang it into people's heads enough, but people here are not the same as once were. That rebel, like that is, you just see people putting their head down into submission and out of shame for what they should have been, should have done. I'm like, you know what? That American dream was meant for the people sleeping. So you don't even go there. Like, they money and all that, you don't take that with you. Like, this is all about, you know, it's like dangling that lifestyle in front of somebody just to rip it away. It's designed to rip it away from you. Like, they don't print the interest in the, you know, like banks only owe 10%. Like, it's coming back to them. Like, it's not designed that way, but yet people get stuck into those. And I just see, if we don't have something to restore some hope or faith or something in our society here, it's breaking, and it's breaking quick. You just see the levels of desperation come from the people. You see how nasty and how normalized it's now becoming.
What they're really doing, and they're really putting a lot of their effort into, is divide and conquer, so that we argue with the people around us and we don't argue with them per se. So they put a lot of resources into doing that, and they do control human perception to a large extent. Otherwise, people wouldn't get up and go to work every day. They would get up and do what they wanted to do. I was speaking to my parents about this because they've retired. So my mother was the last to retire, and you know, I would say to them, for most of their working life, you know, we're slaves. Like, you don't want to work. They're like, yeah, I do want to work, because how am I going to afford them stuff? It's like, no, trust me, you don't want to work. They're like, oh, don't tell me what I want. And then since they've retired and they haven't had to go into a workplace every day, 5 days a week, and they haven't been doing that for like a couple years now, they realize they were kept in a state of stress. And it's only now they realize it. Yeah. So everything about the modern world is designed to keep you in a state of stress, so that you basically, you look for direction. So when a human's stressed or in a state of stress, it's hard for them to think. It's hard for them to do anything other than what's been put in front of their nose, basically, or in front of them. So
and stress is the killer. Stress is the killer. It really is.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize how powerful human behavioralism is. I used to work in that field at the tech company with the learning software. Is that it was adult learning. So, and there was this thing that we helped create called nudge mechanics. Like, how do you get somebody to do something without telling them to do it? You nudge them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we can all be human lie detectors as well. And this comes down to human behavioralism. When the body tells a lie, it becomes weak. So a good way to tell if someone's lying is have them hold their hands up like that, and you put your hand on top and try and push down. And the moment they tell a lie, their hands will go weak. But if they're telling
Have
the
them
truth,
tell it backwards.
if they're telling the truth, you won't be able to push their hand down, because the body, we've got 6 different nervous systems in our body, and it's not an integrated system, which means they're not all integrated with each other. And we can see this, like when you stub your toe, why would you say ow? If you were an integrated nervous system, there'd be no reason for you to go like, oh, that hurt, like there'd be no reason for it.
Right.
So I think our biology has been kept in this fragmented state.
Fractured. Oh yeah, very true. Very true.
And it's I'm not saying that we all have the ability to integrate our nervous systems, because that would be a pretty big that would take quite a while to be able to do that. But I think over the years they've done things like this to us. They keep us in a state of fear. That's a very interesting thing that happens in neuroscience when someone's being controlled by fear, or like Ivan Pavlov.
Oh,
Yeah, the amygdala. Yeah. So
I had my master's in mental health therapy, and I said people don't realize like that amygdala, what's going on inside your prefrontal cortex in that executive functioning in your brain is unbelievable. Yeah. And how easy it is just by engaging somebody in conversation, you're affecting the serotonin by getting them in a back and forth. It's the dopamine. And all you have to do is literally press a little light pressure on their hand, and you're releasing the oxytocin through their body. They're as good as yours. That easy.
Yeah. And how the government was so successful during COVID was they created all this fear. The amygdala went crazy. And then once you can get any part of the cortex, the frontal cortex, to interact with the limbic system, which is like this area sort of like here, sort of this level here, but then it's about here in the head. And it's where all the, like your spine is connected to, and your nervous system. So when you control the head, you control the body, because the limbic system is where all the motor function comes from. Memory is attached
cellular
to
memory. Oh yeah,
exactly. That cellular memory that's accessing the DNA. It's all in that area. It's the hippocampus. So yeah, these people know what they're doing, and they've spent many years studying, the human brain and human behavior. And it's one of my favorite subjects, human behavioralism, or even just behavioralism in general. And what it is in a nutshell is if you do it to animals, like if you take a pigeon, for example, it doesn't matter what pigeon you do this to, every pigeon will respond in the same way, right? Let's pretend you got a pigeon walking in one direction. If you flash a blue light twice onto the right side of its face, it will walk in a circle twice to the left and continue on the way in which it was going. Every pigeon will do that. Doesn't matter which pigeon. And that's behavioralism. And the reason why it's a science is because it's reproducible 100% of the time. And that's how you know you're dealing with science. And that was what I was trying to get to earlier when I was talking about political science. It's reproducible 100% of the time. So, if you
gosh, yeah. I was just talking to somebody, and they were talking about the coyote. I think it's coyotes, or they were hunting here, and how they will go and they go through the same pattern, and they do the circle. And the way they were just, it was just to stay alive, basically, from the hunters. They'll go against the fence, and they every single time, as soon as you identify the route they're taking, the hunter's like, you just go and you just wait for them. It's already, the job is done. Every single time they will do that. I feel like humans, our daily, we probably don't even begin to realize how much of this we do ourselves.
Well, we all get up and go to work every day.
It's a part of the training. Yes.
We all get up and brush our teeth in the morning and have a shower, and it's
most of us.
Yeah, most of us.
Yeah.
Hopefully, a large majority of us.
Right,
Um,
right.
but that's social conditioning. And you're right. With humans, we're a bit more sophisticated than animals in some respects. But I'd be interested to read some studies of behavioralism in dolphins because they've actually got a third hemisphere of the brain. They've got the bottlenose dolphin has got that. The reason it's got that bottle nose is because that's a whole section of the brain which sits in between the two hemispheres. So I mean, I've read case studies about that, but I'd be interested to see how, like, if humans are capable of doing that to dolphins, because they've effectively got bigger brains than we do. But that third hemisphere could account for a lot that we're just blissfully unaware of. It's thought that it's got the ability to see. There was this one study I was looking at, and it's a real study. It was a real case study. There was a guy on a boat, and it capsized, and it basically sank. But in the process of the boat sinking, the one passenger on the boat broke his leg. And he sat there in the ocean just bobbing around with a broken leg, like not really much he can do. And then a pod of dolphins come along, and they see this guy, and they understand that his leg is broken. And one of the dolphins supports his leg, and the others get under his arms, and they bring him back to shore. This is like a true scientific case study. But it's thought that central hemisphere of the brain has got the ability to have like X-ray effectively.
Wow.
And when they send out their sonars and their clicks, all of that sound bounces off objects or can sense interference within the ocean. And when the sound comes back to them, it's really interesting. What's happened is the sound wave, when it hits something, it leaves an imprint on the sound wave. And then the sound wave bounces off and hits another thing and leaves an imprint on that. And when the echo finally comes back to them, it's decoded by the central hemisphere of the brain. And it's thought that sound wave has got all of the information and data inside of it to be able to produce a three-dimensional reality in their head, like a three-dimensional understanding of what they might not be able to see what the echo has interacted with. I think that dolphins have probably got more abilities than we do when it comes to that. And,
did you ever talk to James about that, James Gillian? Because he said that they're like, he loves to go. The dolphins always come out for them, but they're not allowed to engage them anymore.
Oh, he did mention it. That was a great podcast. I was just sat there listening to him. I was like, wow,
you guys are great. No, yeah, I think I didn't know if you had talked to him since, but yeah, I thought that was interesting when you were saying that. And two, Moon wants to know, he thought that everybody's loving this. And yes, I apologize. We're not like going, but you're going to come back on with Dave and we can go down the ET because this is like, I'm totally vibing this conversation. What, other than what you had mentioned before, does it work on other birds? Moon's wondering if it's like, this is like a thing like that happens with all animals. Like, do they know that enough to know?
Yeah, so all animals are subject to behavioralism. All living things are subject to it. But if you were to say flash a blue light on the right side of a falcon's face, no, it won't respond the same way as a pigeon. So, but what I will say is that each species, each genus of species, has got its own exploits. So although the blue light flashing twice on the right side of the pigeon's face will get it to walk in a circle twice to the left and carry on in the direction it was going, that is strictly true for all pigeons. All pigeons will respond in that way, but not all falcons. Falcons won't respond like that at all. But there are different things, would say, different species of animal, bird, where they will. There's things you can do that will cause them to act in the same way. That was just one example. So it's not all birds where you flash a blue light and they will respond in that way.
Doesn't it almost seem like that? Then you said before, like it stores in your memory, like that type of fear. Do you think? I mean, does it almost feel like they're trained that way? I mean, that or what is the thought behind? Do you know the thought behind? Because that just seems really weird. I'm just like wondering now. They talk about all the drones, the birds, and the things going on. Like, is it in? Do they know that vulnerability is there? Like, how would you even discover that vulnerability, or is that a part of the design?
That's part of it. So pigeons are blissfully unaware of that they're controlled by that. They believe it's free will, and so do humans. They are blissfully unaware. Most are blissfully unaware of what's controlling their perception, and they just think they're operating on free will. And that was something the CIA they do. If the CIA say want you to do something, or an intelligence asset wants you to do something, the best way to get anyone to do anything is to make them think that they came up with the idea.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it is so easy. I said, we learned all these tricks when I was a mental health therapist. I was like, I could sit there and pretend I had like 3 pennies in my hand and accidentally for a split second let one drop. Then later on the line, I'm like, hey, pick a penny. Whether or not you realize that split second drop was even there, it happened, your brain recorded it, and you're going to pick that penny.
Absolutely. But there's it's the conscious mind that's not aware of it. That's what you're trying to fool, is the conscious mind. But the subconscious mind records everything. So, and that's why, and because there's a disconnect between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind picks it up and influences the conscious mind. So, and that's fundamentally how it works in humans. But I guess all this stuff is kind of important because this was all the stuff I was researching in the lead up to having experiences with extraterrestrials. I dropped out of society to a large extent, had to really detach. And all the while I was researching all of this stuff, conspiracies, science, you name it. I was trying to make sense of the world. And you've kind of got to recondition your mind to be able to even have an experience like that. So I think that, like I've said before, I think there's a linear nature to this journey. I think everyone, when they first wake up, they get angry. They demand that other people change their lives for them. It might look like a protest. Then they realize they're giving their power away by demanding that other people change their lives for them. They then get tired of doing that. They then realize they've got a lot more to learn. So they jump on the internet. Let's take flat earthers, for example. I'm right, you're wrong is always the way. But what they're doing in that state of mind is they're learning about the world still. They're learning, and I have some really great flat earthers that will come back with a pretty good response for a lot of things. But where they fall down is the science behind it, but they've got all these great, because they've spent so much time trying to learn something through this sort of belligerent state of mind by arguing with people, telling them that they're wrong, I'm right. That's what most people do when they wake up, is they need to get out and learn about why other people don't see the things they see and how to convince those people. So then when you wake up,
you do. It's kind of like you're like, I got to a point where I thought everybody was an idiot to stay out of my way. That's how like cynical I became with it. I was like, why can't you just open your eyes and see it for yourself? I'm like, how stupid are you? And I had to really reel it back in because I was so angry, like with everything that was going on. This awakening process is not fun. It hurts. Like those growing pains are real. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah.
There was a song that had a lyric in it where it describes the awakening process as painful but not destructive.
Yeah.
So it's very painful. It's incredibly painful. There's still friends that I knew from high school that I don't speak to very much anymore, but they were like my best friends. Do you know what I mean? Growing up. Mm-hmm. I just don't speak to them anymore because I'm the crazy person who who's slowly being vindicated in life, but it doesn't matter because they all still hang out with each other when they hang out. And I'm the one that was, but it doesn't matter because it was through those formative years that I got declared crazy, as it were.
Yeah.
That was
It's
enough.
not going to matter. None of this is going to vindicate any of that, nor is it going to unprogram that in people's minds. They've already done it. I even so much as heard, and my sister, my own sister, I said, she's heard me through this whole thing, and she has the nerve to say, not, hey, you weren't as crazy as what we thought you were. They make jokes about it all the time too. She says, you know what? I have a lot of respect for the people who used to think one way, but now they think the other. And I was like, they're not going to give us that. They're not going to give us that.
No, I respect those people too. I've seen some of the people who sort of said COVID was real, called me a granny killer.
Oh yeah.
And I've seen people step up and say I was wrong. But most of them will try and just sneak under the radar. Like they'll just change their narrative and be like, and they won't ever say to anyone that they thought COVID was real or whatever. They'll just now be saying that, oh yeah, it was all nonsense.
They'll slowly take off their glasses and plastic gloves, I see.
Yeah, I mean, but there are people in my life who have come back to me and said, "Oh, you were right," and it's not even that's not a good feeling because I hope I'm wrong about all of this craziness. Do you know what I mean? Like I hope I am wrong about the government trying to depopulate us. I hope I'm wrong, but sadly I'm not, and so it's you don't win waking up.
People don't realize that too. This isn't about, I want to be wrong. Do I really want that our government is really doing this to people? No, please let me be wrong. That's exactly it. Because it's like, it's so disheartening. And then to sit there and watch it, and then people blindly trust it. And if you even like begin to go into psychology, I'm impressed by like this. Have you ever gone into like the Stanford Project? And when they put all these people, and they randomly just drew, but they told the people that they put on the officer end, it was at Stanford University, that they were chosen because of special reasons. And then the ones that were on the prisoner end, like, so they had to shut the program down after 2 weeks. It was so, the way that people had it got so bad in 2 weeks time, it wasn't safe any longer. They had to completely shut it down. And I'm like, that right there, it's just the dangerous game that's psychological. And they've done it our entire lives. To be special to them is not a good thing.
No, it's not. And I've tried to make, so I don't get approached by them. They've come sniffing, should we say.
Oh yeah.
I have ended up working for them at times, but I always make sure I try and double cross them. I think I've made it explicitly clear that I'm not on their side, that I'm kind of not on anyone's side, as it were. I just want everyone to sort of, like, we're all human, we're all one. Like there's no sides here. There's just sick people. There's just sick people and sane people, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree, but it seems, I always say, you know what, you're so stupid that you're fighting with one another. It is these top 1-3%, whatever you want to call them, and I don't think that they're quite human or whatever the hell they are. That's them against, we're not a part of their group. We are not ever going to be a part of their group. And the last thing you want is some groomer from that top 3% is telling you that you are special and you whatever. You have to play along, but I love it. If you're going to put me in the system like that, believe you me, I will make a good change. And they won't necessarily see it that way, but I will. I defy that all the way too. So I go in there. I tell you go in there. Like I think the same way you do. I'm like, but it's you need that resistance.
Don't get me wrong. No one's my enemy. Do you know what I mean? Like not even like the royal family, or anything like that. It's enemies aren't on my radar. And I think that before the world can change, people's perception needs to change. and I think that's easier said than done. Trying to herd people around, just even at the protest, was a nightmare. It was a
Oh
total
God.
nightmare.
Yeah. We used to send out a text blast and then you have people and I'm like, you would almost, so what we started to do was plan car cruises so they could follow.
Mm,
Because that
mm,
was the only way we could get people from point A to point B.
yeah.
I mean, it was just insanity. I was like, oh my God, how did you live this long? I don't understand.
Yeah, as people are generally fine until you get them in a large group, and they're just trying to get the group to move as one thing is so difficult. But this is why the establishment is so successful because they use fear conditioning to do it. They literally terrify you until you do the right thing, and then that's how it works. But it's like you don't want to terrify people into doing the right thing because then that's the same substance that got you here, but people aren't budging until, so it's almost like that self-realization that needs to happen before people will do anything. Just getting people at the protest for COVID, that was almost one budge. Like people were quite happy to take to the streets, and that was about as far as they were prepared to go. They didn't know what they were doing after that.
No,
They just knew that they were angry enough and the government was horrible enough for them to take to the streets and protest them.
that's exactly it. There was no organization. I said that's the part that I was very important when we came forward that we were organized. That was a huge threat to the local government. When we were coming out, we are organized. We are organized. We are organized. It's just not. But that was a whole. I mean, that herding process was not an easy. We had to get real creative and that real creative.
I'm building an app for that at the moment. How to
Are you?
coordinate. Yeah, I won't get into too much about how it works and stuff because I'm not finished building it yet, and I don't want someone else to build it. But
No.
like I built some technology during COVID that most people have replicated today, so I feel pretty happy about that. But the protest app is it's going to be able to, you're going to be able to coordinate large groups of people with it, basically. Send out push
Yeah.
notifications, send out Google Maps links for the route, all that kind of stuff. You'll be able to, because everyone or people have this app on their phone, you'll be able to identify where the protest starts and where it ends effectively. And if there's gaps in the protest, sorry? Did you say something?
I apparently have a cord that's going. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, must be a cord that's kind of, I don't know if it's going a little bonkers, but I think that's awesome that you're doing that because that's so needed. It's like we had to learn, like the text, we used to send out text blasts. It would be awesome if you could somehow create, because we'd anonymity and people didn't realize, but that text blast was me going down and I could get and I made sure they went out individually. Like it wasn't like we didn't have really, but it was the only way that for people to stay semi-safe, but it didn't matter because they'd tell on themselves. It was just like, so as we started to wait, we're like, okay, no, we're going to release this, but that would be awesome. And too bad you can't how are you going to keep it from being infiltrated? Or will it matter? There's just enough people.
It won't matter. It doesn't matter. There won't be anything to infiltrate. Yeah. So say the police create an account, and what can they do? They can't. You can't comment on it. It's there for you to receive push notifications and route details and timings, and there's nothing to infiltrate. So me and the Metropolitan Police we have a history.
I know. I appreciate that about you. I got the same one. I know. They don't like it when they do not like it when people speak out, and when you do, and people are like, "Oh," and I said, "Go test the theory out for yourself and tell me how it works out for you."
They threatened to shoot me in the head.
Oh, yeah. I've been bruised up so bad I was taken to ER. They thought they had broken my wrist. I mean, time and time, the things that they are very capable of doing. And let me tell you, I just if I go into the courthouse down here, I just went in with my son for a traffic ticket. They start layering up, and I'm like, oh, here we go. And I walked up because he's under 18, and the judge is like, because I had filed a complaint, I was like, don't have me do it again. The sheriff's like, you're going to get yourself in trouble again. I said, how so? She does not have to act like that. Nobody has to act like this. It's not, she doesn't rule. This is not a rule, she's supposed to be there as a level-headed interpretation of the law. She's not, I don't know what she thinks she's doing, but it was absolutely insane. You don't get once that goes out there, you don't get a free shot. Not like, oh, let's just wipe the slate blank for this one again. No, does not work that way.
No, it sounds like your investigation was issued by a central government body when it happened to you as well, just like it was for me. It was the Home Office that issued the investigation against myself and other people. And I had a police officer come up and tell me, point blank to my face, said, what was it he said? He comes up to me and says, oh, you're being investigated. I said, for what? This is a cop I knew him for I've seen him a couple times. And he goes, I don't know. It's above my pay grade. I said, what do you mean it's above your pay grade? I said, what's above your pay grade? Like, it's above my force as well. I said, well, what's above your force, your police force? He goes, the Home Office. And then there was a military intelligence report published about the organization that I was working for at the time, like NATO Joint Chief stuff, intelligence reports. And it was leaked to a local press, the UK column. That was terrifying, to realize you ended up on a military desk and they were doing a threat assessment report on you. Oh, nice. But
every time I logged onto Facebook, they told me I was in with people who had multiple murders. We're not talking about, we're talking about multiple murders. And I'm like, this is crazy. How is this happening?
Yeah, it's totally nuts. But I guess now we are on the disclosure stuff. That's the current thing, isn't it? Well, that was recently released the other day, which is interesting.
Thoughts on that really quick? And we'll definitely have a part 2 and go into that. But all of this stuff, I think that is leading up, and I really think this is good for people to understand and know, just because of the art of manipulation. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen in disclosure, and you better just kind of be ready to sift through this all and navigate your way through it, because it's not going to be as easy as what you think it is.
People aren't ready for this phenomenon. People still think it's lights in the sky, but it's it is to some extent. Yeah, these beings can teleport. They don't need ships. They don't need crafts. That's when they're transporting humans most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
These things are so powerful, and people just aren't ready. They've got no reference point for what they're about to deal with.
No.
I think that part of the phenomena is seeing the lights in the sky and everything else, definitely. But these beings just exercise so much power and ability over humans. It's scary, but they never physically harmed me. So
it's more like a mind warp. It's just a whole mind trap is what I feel like they really do.
Yeah, it can take a psychological toll on people. That's why I had to spend 5 years before, because if everyone was ready psychologically, then you'd already be having experiences, But I'm not having experiences anymore. I'm just keeping them out for right now. I don't want anything to do with them at the minute because I don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah, so
I don't want to be the least point of resistance. I don't want to be fooled. I don't want to be tricked. I don't want to be any of that. And that's it's starting to feel like,
Yeah, I definitely think that with all the disclosure stuff, what's going to be released is skunkworks projects. So because the US military is so fragmented, I've heard stories of a craft was downed, but the craft was owned by Lockheed Martin, and once the craft was downed, the US military sent patrols to go and see what it was, and Lockheed sent patrols as well, and there was active fire going on. The Lockheed soldiers were firing at the US military and killed a lot of them just to recover this technology. So I think what the disclosure is going to be, and what we're going to see, the videos, the documents, is going to be a lot of like skunk works projects, secret military technology, because the US military is so fragmented, regular soldiers and don't know anything about these projects. They don't have the clearance, so they just treat it like normal stuff. Like it's just like something's happened, we need to go check it out. But they don't realize that there's this whole ghost ops section of the military. And I think a lot of the disclosure, a lot of the lights in the sky and all that kind of stuff is going to be, I saw that there was a video of them shooting down a craft. It was like, there's nothing more laughable. There's no chance the US military can shoot down one of these crafts.
No.
They move at 30,000 miles an hour. There's no way. So, and they've got inertia shielding and all that kind of cool stuff. There's just no way the US government is shooting down a real military, real UFO or UAP or rocket.
It's not
going to happen. No. So I think what they did shoot down was probably human-made.
What's alarming though when you're saying this is Jason Sands was on. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's a whistleblower. And the stuff that they had asked him to do or told him to do. And I said, he's an experiencer. From when he got on and it was just him and I for I was maybe 3 minutes. I knew it instantly. I said, are you an experiencer? He said, yes. And I said, the military, you don't think that they knew that you were an experiencer but prior? And he said, it's never been brought about. I've never talked about it. But what I felt like was being done was they took that and they were having him do things kind of like they do in the experimental part of it, giving orders or whatever. But I think he was targeted exactly why. And they were having it to see, and he was building a rapport with one of the, down to giving him his coat, when he was cold. And then they wanted him and he couldn't do it. He was one that pulled back on it. But I was like, I don't think some of this, are people, do they think they crossed that line already? You know what I'm saying? Psychologically, are they kind of, because our black budget projects now, we don't even get to know where the money's going to. They're all blacked out. None of that is out. But I agree with you. I think that skunk works. I mean, people don't realize how much has gone on Steve. I mean, you guys could go on and on and on about all this stuff. But to think and to hear that, and it really stuck with me, that with Jason, and I was like, man, I think that was definitely by design. That was, and once you push somebody past that point, it's and then you're having him do, he was one of many that were, excuse me.
That's a really cool microphone you've got there.
I do apologize. Whenever I get a little riled up, I have to get all new cords too. I should have known. This is the third. So with the computer and everything down, I have a pile of cords that I have shorted out. But yeah, it's just sick. It's really is sick to think that I don't know if that makes sense of kind of where I'm going with that.
Yeah, it's the breakaway civilization, and it's probably the most secretive thing that exists. I just wonder how you get recruited for something like that, I mean, they haven't recruited me.
Yeah.
And I've literally stood face to face with these beings, so seeing craft close up. So there must be an element of the government that understands this is going on, and I'm not of any value to them, because of what they know already. I always really enjoy Alex Jones's take on what's going on. He's been very vocal about the UFO disclosure at the moment. He describes them as interdimensional beings, and that's exactly what I would describe them as. He's talking about how the elites or the globalists are actively dealing with these beings. Um, um, and I'm shocked that Alex Jones is so accurate on this, is as accurate as he is on this phenomena for someone who hasn't actually experienced it himself. He's not experienced these beings, but the way he describes them and just the way he describes, the way he describes the phenomena is just so accurate. You know, I was watching a clip of him today saying how he was breaking down the whole situation. He was like, oh yeah, you know, the elites deal with these, you know, interdimensional beings, and, you know, at the moment what's happening is that the disclosure is happening so that the government can pretend that they're at war with these aliens, but they're not really the aliens, and they've told the public, or the public thinks that the aliens are here to help them and help them evolve, and they're peaceful and loving. And he goes, but that's not the case at all. And I'm like, whoa, how do you know this? Like, how do you know this? And it's just because he's got so many insiders or sources, and I don't doubt that those sources have experienced those things. So when we talk about the globalist or the elite, the people doing this, I would say that they are actively in open rituals having encounters or experiences with these beings 100%. And I think because these beings display godlike abilities or powers, I think that the globalists or the elite, whatever you want to call it, the brotherhood, they are very much, you know, they've been sold to think that they're special, human sacrifice, all that kind of stuff. And I think that the elites or the globalists are very much hook, line, and sinker. I think that some of these rituals, I think these entities do appear. I do. And I think that there's an element of, I also think drugs, like certain drugs, are an important part of this as well. Because I remember Alex talking about how it was on the Joe Rogan show, how they would, you know, have LSD intravenously, like jack it straight into your bloodstream. And then they would go off and have meetings with the entities, and they would broker deals for technology, and they would stop your heart, but they would stop your heart as well. And it was like, what? Like, so yeah, I think your mic's gone again. Can't hear you yet. Yeah, so I think there is a facet of, when it comes to hallucinogenics potentially, that help you have interactions with these beings. I always hear of people saying they've taken DMT and they blasted off and they met the entities or whatever. So that's always a really interesting part of it. So, and I think there's a bit of a dogma around it, a bit of a taboo as well. Because I think if people think that you've taken drugs or whatever, then I think they think that you didn't really see what you saw, and that you know, you maybe just hallucinated. But I mean, the US government is literally giving people LSD intravenously and sending them off to meet these entities. You know, you back yet? Yeah, I think the disclosure is going to be a deception. I think, you know, there will be some elements of truth in what they release, but as always, their MO is to shroud those truths in lies or deception. Just like the flat Earth stuff, just like the QAnon stuff, there was elements of truth in that, but it was shrouded very much in lies and mystery, which again helps to keep the human in that state of problem solving, state of mind, which is what the economy keeps us in, that state of mind as well. So I think it will mostly be deception, but a lot of the footage will either be real or it will be of skunk work projects. But I don't think they're going to go full on with the disclosure, because it doesn't jive with the reality. Their disclosure doesn't entirely jive with the reality that I've experienced. You you know, I think after you see these beings teleport or just disappear before your eyes, I think you realize that they don't need crafts to get places. So disclosure is going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of deception, and critical thinking is going to be vital. Don't get me wrong, you're going to see some very cool stuff in respect to the footage, the video footage, the images, but just be mindful that some of it might be, you know, government technology. And I think that's very important to be mindful of. Yeah, enjoy it. It's going to be great, and it steps closer to where we need to be, but just need to be really mindful of the deception.
I agree. And I apologize. I'll have this all
Fine.
figured out next time. Poor Phil. You handled it so beautifully. Some people panic when they're all of a sudden, you know, it's like it happens from time to time, but you just keep going with it. I'm like, that's great. Thank you.
That's all right.
You didn't have a
That's
look
cool.
of like, you know, like but yeah, no, I appreciate it. And I really like these talks. They're so important. They really are, and the knowledge and everything. And two, I mean, you're like 10 years, I think you're like 9 years ahead of me on the awakening. And it's crazy because you can every, step of the way, it's a journey. It's not like you're just there in a way. I mean, becomes your journey. Um, I really appreciate all that you do and done, and you're very vocal about it. You don't fall into, I never see you waver like just, oh, the mass group of the people think this way. That's not who you are. And that's so important to lead that way and for people to see that, we can all have different opinions. This is all
Mhm.
very subjective in so many
Mhm.
ways, but you don't have to sit there and, I mean, you handle it very beautifully.
Thank you. You do such a great job on this show as well. All the comments you get as well. People love to come and tune in and watch. Like, you read the comments out before. You do such a great job. You know.
Thank you. I really do. I appreciate that. And two, please let David know that I am so sorry, but I'm just gonna go and buy another set of cords and I should be all set to go. Now that I can't even, if I even wrote down what the events that have occurred, has it been wonky for everybody, or is this just like a struggle all on my own this time? I don't know. It's a weird society. There's a weird vibe going on right now. I can't put my finger on it, but I feel like something's brewing.
This year has been a write-off for me. Probably,
I
like, it's only recently started getting better over the last 2 weeks. So,
Oh, you're improving. That's good. That's good. Maybe I'm
yeah.
just getting mine out of my way so I can, go ahead and anytime there's change though, my body recognizes it and this happens.
Mm.
Anytime change is coming. So I know something is coming. I don't respond well to it, but I can't make any sense out of the rest of it. But yes, and I really want to thank you again, Phil, for coming on. And it's been an honor and a privilege to get to know you. And two, until the next time, what would you like to leave the people with? And I also have an idea too. Like I'll explain it to you after and send it on the inversion.
Mm.
I think I've got an idea on how we could flip this whole thing around. But let's see what you
Mm.
think on it.
Yeah, no, send it to me. That'd be great. I guess I'll leave people with the same thing I always leave them. Just be kind to everyone. You know, love everyone just for being human. Help anyone that needs help. Um, and just always just be caring for people around you. I would say we're all one, you know, and we're just experiencing ourselves subjectively. And I mean, I speak to everyone as if I'm speaking to myself. Maybe not healthy, but hey ho.
I do
Um,
too. I speak in a collective.
yeah, absolutely. And you know, just be kind. Kindness is really important. Like, it can really pull us out of this situation. And the more people that are kind and will call out the BS, and you know, I can't stress this enough. The quicker this happens, the better all of our lives become. You know,
Yes.
the second we can get rid of this nonsense, our lives become much better. And I just hope to see it in my lifetime. But until then, just be kind to people, show them love, care for them. and just support them. And yeah, that's me.
That's awesome. And two, think I what I really took away is think about how lies weaken and how the state that they want you in, and you are only as sick as your secrets. So yeah, that really was an eye-opening experience. So I appreciate you bringing that forward too, Phil. And again, send my apologies to David. I'll tune in wherever he's at. And yeah, I'd love to book you guys to get you on. And I feel like this is a precursor. People really, I'm gonna really push this show because I think everybody there's information in here that everybody really needs to hear.
Perfect. And we'll arrange another date for Dave and I. That'll be the good one. There's a 5-year period where Dave and I met to where I had my first contact experience, stood face to face with them, and that is a really interesting time.
But I can't wait. I cannot wait. And not that Phil, you are fascinating and interesting all on your own, but I cannot wait to see that dynamic because what I think it's probably the biggest contact story that I have ever heard. And I'm surprised that it's not down in history books, but that is exactly probably why it's not. So I can only tell you this much when you hear them telling my audience, when you guys hear this and you bring them, I mean, you are going to be, your minds are going to be blown. We were both sitting there and I was like, wow. And I know even Maya that does Mondays with me, she's like, and she really wanted to get on and meet you and David. So maybe it'll work out better because she's like huge. And I said, yeah, no, that's great. So thank you again. Keep fighting the good fight. Just know you got friends over here that are fighting for you and cheering you on, Phil. Like you're never alone. I know it feels that way, but you're never truly alone.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And I'll see you again soon.
Sounds good. I'll let you keep going here. So that was amazing. That was amazing. Amazing. Phil is just absolutely, I remember following and some of his work going back, and I saw what he had in him and somebody else when they were going and they were exposing 50 years of democide. I mean, think of that name alone. It's just beyond fitting. And I was like, I have got to know who this person is. I can't even imagine. And I really connected. I'm like, in so many levels because the system and fighting the system. And I remember thinking, man, I can't imagine what he's going through. I really can't. And I reached out and I was able to hear more of Phil's story. And I was like, man, it's inspiration for many. I mean, it is. And it also teaches you many valuable lessons. Do not take for granted what you have for freedom. Do not assume it's going to be there tomorrow. Do not, it's just a lot of this is predetermined, pre-planned, but I do believe that there are solutions. We would not still be here and able to, and it would be game over. It'd be game over if it truly were. We would all be the ultimate in slavery. So I don't think that's the case. I don't. I just think we need to think a little bit more outside the box. And I'm going to roll out kind of what I stumbled across and I think may help kind of flip the narrative. But until then, I hope everybody's enjoying their weekend. Enjoy your Saturday night. We will be having, I believe, Andrew, now do not quote me on this, but I'll check the schedule for tomorrow. We're kind of adjusting to summer hours right now. But I will post all of that. We got some fun stuff coming up. And Phil and David, you do not want to miss the Phil when they're on live and asking. I mean, this story is so, I could not, when I was sitting there, I just was so blown away. And I can't wait for them to roll that out and bring it out to you. So again, thank you for taking the journey into the unknown. I'm Coley, also known as ColeyUFO. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you. If it weren't for all of you, none of this would be possible. And I'd like to thank Moon at Noon. Thank you so much for the super sticker. It's so greatly appreciated. To everybody who has subscribed to the channel, thank you. It's really, and StreamYard, I know I've said this 1,000 times, but I think Pops and I both and really had our fill of it this weekend. We're going to find something. I don't know what is with the technology, but yeah, it's not working in our favor. Also, I want to say a special thank you to Gary Spikes. He's the Pops Cryptid panel, second Monday of every month. And they're going to be adding another one because it's under such high demand. And he has been producing and learning the show behind the scenes. So I really do appreciate that, Gary. It's really saved a lot of stuff. So again, Phil, if you haven't looked into, he definitely is description. Go to the links. Definitely follow him and cheer him on because he's got my ultimate respect. He really does. So again, I'm not going to tell you exactly what time we'll be on tomorrow, but I'll get that figured out now that I have access to my accounts again. And I have a nice brand new MacBook Pro I've invested in since I shorted out the last one. So I don't know. You never know. But on that note, like I said, everybody enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Be good to one another. And until next time.
These they ain't lying. UFOs in the night.